Hey, this is Justin Johnson. So when I first started putting together the Biscuit House album, I really wanted to do two things. I wanted to pay homage to like the rock and roll guitar tones that I love, you know, like Hendrix, Zeppelin, The Doors, Santana, the Allman Brothers. But I also have this other voice in my head and this other tone that I love, and it's those early electric blues players like Mississippi Fred McDowell, Muddy Waters, Lightning Hopkins, John Lee Hooker, and I really wanted to kind of marry those two concepts together on this album. I auditioned easily 100 different guitars, and it was through that process that I basically boiled it down to 7 instruments, 7 guitars that I brought into Blackbird Studio here in Nashville and recorded the Biscuit House album with. But I want to start out really where I began the tone journey of this album, and that was with the combination of this guitar right here. This is the Jimi Hendrix signature Flying V from Gibson, and this beast back here, the Marshall Super 100 JH, which stands for Jimi Hendrix. So basically, there's like a magical combination. When I plug this guitar in, this Flying V right here, into that amp, it was like the sound of rock and roll. It's also the loudest amp I've ever heard in my life. And there's just a sound of just turning it up and feeling, you can actually feel the air hit you. It's like if you're playing even at like a quarter volume, you can actually see your clothes move when you play that amp. And so it just has that tone and that feel and that power that I wanted on this album. Even when, no matter what guitar I'm talking about, for the whole album, I plugged into that amp. When I was at Blackbird Studio, the amp was in an isolation booth, so it was in a different room than I was recording in. But even then, it was so loud that I used this little guy back here. It's a Universal Audio, it's called the Aux Box, and it's an amp attenuator. And so I was miking the top cabinet there as a half stack, and I was playing the amp cranked, but again, it was about half volume thanks to the Aux Box. So the power of this instrument though comes from, basically it's an all mahogany body, mahogany neck, mahogany body. It's got these PAF style humbuckers. I also like the combination of, 2 volume knobs and 1 tone knob. So you can blend on this middle position, you can blend the tone between the neck pickup and the bridge pickup. And that's almost always how I play this guitar when I play it. Because if I want a warmer tone, I just turn the volume up on the neck. If I want a brighter tone, I just turn the volume up on the bridge. So I did a lot of the writing for the album on this guitar, but when I got the Flying V into the studio, everyone was ready to record. The 1/4-inch jack actually started shorting out, and I needed something to fill in for this guitar in the studio, like last minute, which leads me to the next guitar. All right, so this next guitar is the PRS S2 Standard 24. I thought, well, this guitar, like the Flying V, has an all mahogany body, mahogany neck. It has 2 vintage voiced humbucker pickups. And basically, when I plugged it in and I was trying to replace the tones that I had gotten used to from writing on the Flying V, it nailed them. I didn't have to change any knobs on the amp, on the pedals, anything. And it basically replaced the guitar on the tracks that I was planning on using the Flying V on. This was actually the guitar that I used the most on the Biscuit House album. There is a tone that I think really defines that tone of rock and roll, and you hear a lot of people sort of chasing it, and you always hear about like the tone of like the 59 Les Paul, or that Pearly Gates tone, or that sort of tone that just defines rock and roll. And I think a lot of it has to do with the combination of the right humbucker pickups, kind of like vintage style humbucker pickups, with the right amount of overtones that you kind of get from the pickup, but you also get with that interplay between the wood types. I think one of my favorite tones that I got on the whole album was on my cover of Blind Willie Johnson's Soul of a Man. And the intro is just this guitar. It's plugged into the Marshall stack, of course. And the only other pedal I was using, or the only other effect I was using, is I was using the Universal Audio Golden pedal, Golden Reverberator. And it's basically a reverb pedal, but that pedal specifically has one of my favorite spring reverb sounds. I always loved the spring reverb sound, specifically with guitars, and since the Marshall doesn't have any built-in spring reverb, I wanted to get like a nice sort of swampy, real reverby, tone for this song specifically. It's just so heavy and so swampy, and it just nailed that. Like, you can hear the springs in it. It's such a good replica of that. All right, so let me move on to the next guitar that I probably use the most other than the PRS, and that is this baby right here. This is the Wild Custom Gyro guitar. This is one of the trippiest guitar designs I've ever seen, and I guess, at first glance, it might look like, kind of like a classic solid body. It's got the maple top, it's got the mahogany back, it's got a maple neck, ebony fretboard, all the classics. But it's this right here that really defines what's unique about this guitar. Check out these pickups. So when I flip this knob right here, it allows me to change pickups just on the fly. Basically, I can load it with 6 different pickups at a time and basically audition different pickups in the studio. Let me turn this around and show you kind of a little more about what I'm talking about. So if you take this panel off the back, you can see basically each of the pickups is attached to a module here, and you can drop in different modules. I've got about 20 different pickups. A lot of them are, again, replicas of vintage pickups like this one. The Red Devil Bridge is one of the Billy Gibbon's signature humbucker pickups, kind of in this single coil size, but it's a humbucker pickup. And I love the Billy Gibbon's Seymour Duncan pickups. They just sound killer. This pickup right here actually is a lap steel pickup, and it's like one of the classic bridge pickups that you'd find on like old vintage lap steels. I use this for the tone that I get on Baby Leave Your Light On. And on that song, I wanted that kind of classic swampy tone, but not like a heavy swampy tone. I want a real slinky kind of single coil tone. I also have fairly heavy strings. They're 11 gauge on the high E, but it's my slide guitar set that I use on this. And I also have higher action on this. So I use this guitar a lot when I know I'm going to be playing a lot of slide guitar and I really want to dig into it so that higher action kind of helps me stay off of the frets. Also, I like the fact that the radius, basically like the curve on this fretboard, isn't very rounded. It's pretty flat. And that's great for slide guitar. So this is kind of like my my Duane Allman, tone when I want it. Another thing I did to kind of get that Allman Brothers vibe on this song specifically was that I always love those doubled riffs, like the harmonized riffs that Dickie Betts and Duane Allman would do together. And so on this specific song, on Blacktop Horizon, I did that with Will Lee, who's the bass player on the album, just a legendary bass player. So we did a lot of doubled riffs on this one. That was kind of like the key melodic component to this song. Also, speaking a little bit about the bass, like Will and I talked quite a bit about the bass tone that we were going for this album also. And he also ran through, so he ran direct into the console. He ran also through a series of pedals, and compressor pedals, that kind of thing. And then he also ran into a Marshall stack and a separate isolation booth. And also Mike Webb, who was the keyboard player on this, he played B3, he played Fender Rhodes, played the clav, and then played some acoustic piano as well, and the Wurlitzer. But everything was both recorded live, but also to kind of pay homage to like the Deep Purple vibe. We ran all of the keyboards, all of the Fender Rhodes, the B3 especially, ran it straight into a third Marshall stack. And so I especially love like the interplay between me and Mike Webb when he was playing the distorted Fender Rhodes. He was playing through the Marshall stack. I was playing this next guitar through my Marshall. And that is this guitar right here. This is actually another Gyro guitar from Wild Customs. This is the Billy Gibbon signature Gyro. I specifically chose this guitar for the song 6 of 1. And it is the perfect guitar for this song. This song starts out with this riff that I just can't imagine being played on any other guitar. I knew when I was going to record this song, I wanted a guitar that basically just killed that one single bridge pickup sound. There's something magical about a guitar that just has one bridge pickup. I always kind of wondered, like, well, I don't know, it seems like you can't get the same sound off a guitar that has a bridge and a neck pickup. Some people speculate that the magnets on the neck pickup actually can sort of deaden the strings a little bit. Like, they kind of pull the strings magnetically and can prevent a certain, tone or overtone from coming through. And so I believe there is a certain magic you get if you're just going for that nice rock and roll lead guitar bridge pickup sound. Get a guitar that only has a bridge pickup, and it delivers that sound better than any other type of guitar. This Gyro guitar, you'll notice, doesn't have the triggers up here, the toggle switches up here, but it does rotate just like the other one through 3 pickups down here, 3 bridge pickups. Alright, so this guitar right here is the Virtua model from Emerald Guitars. And what makes this guitar so cool is, for one, the fact that it is made out of carbon fiber. So it's a hollow body guitar, and you can see, especially on the back here, you can see that carbon fiber pattern. It's basically hollow inside because carbon fiber is so structurally strong. You don't really need like a core that goes through, the sound chamber like you do with most like hollow body or semi-hollow body guitars. So it's got a really unique like resonance to it already. It's also very light, very easy to play. But I think the thing for me that really I love the most about the tone is the fact that it's got these 2 humbucker pickups, which you can coil split. So you can turn these into single coils. But then it also has a piezo system, like a piezo bridge right here, which is what you normally find on acoustic guitars. So on my Biscuit House album, I use this guitar on the tracks Before You Go, Part 1, and then on Before You Go, Part 2. I was really trying to dial in like that kind of psychedelic 60s, like acid rock kind of vibe, especially like inspired by The Doors and Robbie Krieger's tone. And I think on that song specifically, I used the single coil setting. I used the middle position with the pickups, and then I dialed in just a little bit of the piezo sound. And so what that gave me was this really nice sustain, this nice kind of hollow body electric guitar tone. But when you dial in, which is nice that this has like a blend knob so you can blend in the piezo. I just blend in just a tiny bit, and it adds so much articulation to the tone. It really makes the attack of the tone pop. And, I play that song with my fingers. I play a lot finger style. But it almost gave me an attack that sounds like I was playing with a flat pick. So a big part of my performance on the guitar for this song had so much to do with especially the interplay with the drums. It takes me back to a lot of the early Santana when I first started listening to Santana, and it just sounded like this tribal village just like dancing around a fire or something like that. And all of the guitar parts sounded like they were based on what was going on in the percussion section, in the drum section. And Rick Lano on drums was just on fire. I remember the moment recording this in the studio. All right, so this right here, it's a vintage, I believe it's a 70s Gibson J45. I use this at the beginning, the intro to my song Swamp Stomp. It basically has an intro that's on acoustic guitar and resonator guitar, and then the song kind of morphs into an electric song. So I knew that I wanted that real woody, vintage kind of sound. I was kind of equate it with like the Stones on a lot of their acoustic songs. There's like a full-bodied nature to those old Gibson dreadnoughts that I just think is very iconic and very rock and roll. So this guitar just naturally has that tone. You don't have to fight for it. You don't have to do anything. You just put a mic in front of it and it's right there. All right, this is an old, I don't know what year this is, but it's a vintage Dobro Duolan. And always when I try to dial in that dark blues tone, what I'll do is I'll use a combination of miking the resonator with just a microphone in front of it, so you get that nice natural tone that you get from the resonator. But then I like to, again, take the direct signal from the pickup and I'll run that either into the console, or when I want like a swampier tone, like I get on this song, I'll run it into a clean amp with quite a bit of reverb. And I use the Universal Audio Golden Reverberator on this album to get all of my reverb tones, a nice spring reverb sound. And if you listen closely on Goes to the Mountain, you can hear some of those sort of like electric guitar, spaghetti western chord strum. I did those on the PRS, and I think I used the single coil setting on that with the bridge pickup, because the PRS has a coil split on it, so you can actually pull the tone knob up and get single coil tone from the humbuckers. And I just switched to the bridge pickup and do those nice dramatic spaghetti western chords. And that brings us back to where we began. I ended up actually taking the Flying V home during the recording process. I took it apart and fixed the 1/4-inch jack, which was giving me trouble the first couple days. And so it was able to be used. I was able to use the Flying V for a lot of the overdub sessions. My favorite of which was playing the talk box. And basically what the talkbox is it's, I used this one right here. This is the MXR talkbox. And inside the pedal here, it looks like a pedal, but it's actually kind of like an amp in and of itself. There's a speaker, like a physical speaker inside the pedal, and you attach it to this long rubber tube. The tube goes in your mouth, and basically it shoots the sound of the guitar physically into your mouth. And so then you put a microphone in front of your mouth, and your mouth becomes the guitar amp. And I used this heavily on specifically the track Baby Leave Your Light On. Alright guys, want to thank you for watching, and also if you like what you've been hearing, if you want to check out the Biscuit House, you can find that at justinjohnsonstore.com. Thanks again for watching. Please hit the subscribe button and keep rocking.